Hey everyone, and welcome to Artyland. I'm CK, and I'm obsessed with understanding something that affects all of us, but few people really talk about. How conflicts start, why they escalate, and most importantly, how they end. This is my very first video, and I'm going to share something with you that will completely change how you see the news. Imagine if I told you that in just 12 days this summer, 3 of the world's most powerful nations came closer to World War III than at any point since the Cuban Missile Crisis. 610 people died. Nuclear facilities were bombed. And for a terrifying moment, the fate of 8 billion people hung in the balance. But here's what nobody's talking about. This wasn't just another Middle East conflict. This was a preview of how quickly our world can spiral into chaos. And more importantly, how we can pull it back from the brink. By the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden patterns that drive nations to war, the psychological tricks that can stop conflicts before they start, and why the future of peace might depend on something you'd never expect. Stay with me, because this story will change how you see every conflict on the news. Let me paint you a picture of how quickly everything can fall apart. June 13th, 2025, Israel launches Operation Raising Lion, the largest military operation in decades. Not against Gaza, not against Lebanon, against Iran itself. 12 provinces, including Tehran. For 40 years, these two nations fought through proxies, like a chess game where pawns do all the dying. But on this day, the chessboard got flipped over. 9 days later, the United States did something unprecedented. They bombed Iran's nuclear facilities. Fordow, Natanz, Isfahan, the most heavily fortified bunkers on Earth, designed to withstand nuclear attack. America just declared that diplomacy was dead. Iran's response? Missiles at a US base housing thousands of American soldiers in Qatar. Think about that for a second. 3 nuclear powers shooting at each other, while the rest of us scrolled through TikTok, completely unaware that civilization was about to unravel. But here's the twist, and this is where our story gets really interesting. On June 24th, after 12 days of escalating madness, something extraordinary happened. A phone call, a few words, and suddenly the shooting stopped. How do you go from the edge of World War III to a ceasefire in hours? That's not luck, that's psychology. And understanding this psychology might just save the world. What if I told you that ending wars has more in common with therapy than military strategy? There's a brilliant researcher named Johann Galtung who discovered something profound. He realized that what we call peace is actually 2 completely different things. Negative peace is just the absence of shooting. But positive peace? That's the absence of the reasons people wanted to shoot in the first place. Here's where it gets fascinating. Academic research shows that successful peace isn't about making people stop fighting. It's about making them want to stop fighting, and that requires understanding something most people ignore: human needs. John Burton, one of the world's leading conflict researchers, discovered that most wars aren't really about territory or resources. They're about identity, recognition, security, and dignity. Strip away the politics and you'll find people who feel invisible, threatened, or humiliated. Think about it. The Camp David Accords didn't work because Jimmy Carter was a great negotiator. They worked because he locked Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat in a room for 13 days and forced them to see each other as human beings, not enemies. But here's what nobody tells you about that famous handshake. Sadat was assassinated 2 years later by extremists who thought peace was betrayal. The personal cost of making peace can be your life. So why do leaders take that risk? Because they understand something most of us don't. The alternative is far worse. Let me show you the real cost of conflict. And fair warning, this might break your heart a little. 30 million children in the Middle East are out of school right now because of war. Not sick, not on vacation. Out of school because adults decided shooting at each other was more important than teaching kids to read. In Gaza, every single school has been shut down since October 2023. 645,000 children sitting at home wondering if they'll ever learn math again. In Sudan, 16.5 million kids are out of school because the buildings they used to learn in got turned into rubble. Here's something that will stick with you. When children can't go to school for extended periods, their risk of never returning increases exponentially. It's not just about missing lessons. It's about losing hope that education matters. And here's the brutal truth. 6 out of 10 children in the Middle East and North Africa can't understand a simple text by age 10. Think about what that means for their future, for their ability to participate in democracy, to innovate, to solve problems. 55% of the Middle East population is under 30. They face the highest youth unemployment rates in the world. Imagine being 20 years old, educated but jobless, watching politicians destroy everything you hoped to build. But here's where our story takes a turn. Because these same young people, they might just be the key to everything. Research shows that every additional year of schooling reduces conflict risk by 20%. Education doesn't just create workers, it creates people who understand that cooperation beats destruction every single time. All right, remember when I promised to show you the hidden patterns that can stop conflicts before they start? Here they are, and they're going to surprise you. Pattern number 1, the Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days in 1962, when nuclear war seemed inevitable. How did JFK and Khrushchev pull back from the brink? They gave each other a way to save face. The public story. Russia removes missiles from Cuba. America promises not to invade. The secret story. America quietly removes missiles from Turkey. Both leaders get to look strong to their people while actually compromising. Pattern number 2. Successful mediators never pick sides. Norway brokered the Oslo Accords. Not because they were powerful, but because they were neutral. Qatar is mediating Middle East conflicts today for the same reason. Sometimes the best referee is the one with the least skin in the game. Pattern number 3. Back-channel communications. While politicians give angry speeches on TV, diplomats are quietly talking behind the scenes. During the recent Iran crisis, Oman facilitated secret talks between Iran and the US. The ceasefire didn't happen by accident. It happened because someone kept the phone lines open. But here's the pattern that might surprise you most. Environmental cooperation. Countries that hate each other will still work together to manage shared rivers, combat climate change, or preserve wildlife. Why? Because the Earth doesn't care about your politics. When Egypt and Israel cooperate on water management, or when Iran and Iraq coordinate on dust storm mitigation, they're practicing peace without calling it peace. They're building trust through shared survival. So here we are. We've seen how quickly the world can nearly end, and how quickly it can step back from the edge. We've learned that peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the presence of justice, opportunity, and hope. But here's what I want you to remember most. Peace isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create. Every time you choose empathy over anger, dialogue over silence, understanding over judgment, you're contributing to a more peaceful world. The research is clear. Peace education works. Youth exchanges work. Economic cooperation works. Environmental collaboration works. Cultural understanding works. The tools exist. We just have to use them. Those 30 million children out of school, they don't have to stay out of school. Those young people facing unemployment, they can become entrepreneurs, artists, innovators. Those nations pointing missiles at each other, they can choose to point satellites at space instead. The path to peace isn't mysterious. It's not even that difficult. It just requires something that's often in short supply: the courage to see enemies as human beings with legitimate needs and fears. The 12-day war that almost changed everything ended with a phone call. The next conflict might not be so lucky, but if enough of us understand what we've learned today, if enough of us choose hope over fear, cooperation over competition, peace over profit, then maybe, just maybe, we can navigate this conflict for a better tomorrow. The future is unwritten, and that means we still have time to write a better ending. I want to know, what conflict in the world right now keeps you up at night? Drop a comment below, because your answer might just become my next video. And here's the thing, understanding these patterns isn't just academic. The more people who understand how peace actually works, the more likely we are to create it. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and never stop believing that a better world is possible.